So it seems that the Chief Librarian of the Blood Angels is going to be far more threatening, being massively tougher and a fights first lone operative, and Games Workshop have been craftily taking down a few more things from their web store, both more Forge World and current 40k models going. Let's talk through a whole load of Games Workshop news, rumours and teasers. Hello and welcome back to Warspecs Tactics, where today I thought I'd do a news roundup video, just talking through a whole load of minor but interesting things that I didn't really think needed a full video all to themselves, but I still thought were well worth talking about. Jumping straight into it, and there was one rules teaser that I managed to miss in the big Blood Angels preview, was that Games Workshop gave us a little teaser as to some of the rules updates for the Chief Librarian of the Blood Angels, Mighty Mr. Mephiston, the only Blood Angel to have fully shaken off and rejected the Black Rage, seemingly emerging as a mighty transcendent being as a result. In current Blood Angels armies, I feel like Mephiston has been done a bit of a disservice for how fun his model is. He was the first Blood Angel Space Marine to get the Primaris treatment, really quite a nice resculpt of the Lord of Death himself. I think they did well with it. I'm feeling kind of on brand with the sort of Blood Angels angelic space vampire thing that they have going on. For a fairly central character with some really cool lore, it was a shame to see him not really being played in Blood Angels competitive armies at all. He just wasn't being taken in optimised lists, though I did think he was usable enough casually and had some people report good successes with him. In his current version of the rules, prior to the Codex coming, he gets a beefy stat line with toughness 5, 6 wounds, a 2+ save, and a 5+ feel no pain, quite a bit chunkier than some characters out there, though no invulnerable. He hits with 6 attacks with his Viterra's sword in melee, all at strength 9, AP 3 and damage D3. He worsens enemy weapon skill and has an OK anti-marine style focus witchfire shooting attack, but perhaps most importantly he gives fights first for his unit, meaning that his squad can be a tricky prospect to take down in close combat if the enemy does decide to charge them. Maybe his biggest issue though was that it was a bit limited as to what units he could join. He could only join assault intercessors for melee relevant troops, and for a fights first style unit to try and be too intimidating for the enemy to charge, they perhaps just don't quite get there. They certainly can be scary, but tend to be a lot more so for the Blood Angels Sons of Sanguinius if they're led by, say, captains or sanguinary priests, either handing out free stratagems and direct melee muscle with a bunch of power fist attacks, or improving the squad's AP and making them tougher with a feel no pain. For that reason, Mephiston was often left at home compared with those. Now though, the updated data card for him that we saw the other day was mostly obscured, but it did have a few intriguing little details poking out the top of it. His stat line's unchanged and is still pretty mighty, but what has changed in really quite a big way are his core rules. He's now gained Lone Operative and lost the Leader keyword, so he's no longer going to be able to join any squads at all, and instead he'll be completely going his own way, standing apart from his brother Angels. Lone Operatives are just generally handy to have in Warhammer 40k. Great to have units that can't be interacted with at longer range, and can make things like scoring unclaimed objectives or screening out parts of the backfield a lot easier. It is kind of scary to think of that with Mephiston's damage and defensive profile tacked on. Beyond that, he's got a 4+ feel no pain as well, so that's improved from a 5+, and it's going to take a serious amount of damage to bring him down. On average, a 4+ feel no pain essentially doubles his durability. So with normal rolling, you'd expect to have to chew through 12 wounds at toughness 5 with a 2+ save, which really isn't terrible durability for the 100 points if he stays there, particularly given that you're not going to be able to just focus every heavy weapon against him. Particularly with being able to threaten Armour of Contempt on a 2+ save, you couldn't really be too sure about killing him. Finally, seems that he's retained his fights first ability. It just now no longer has the stipulation that he has to be leading a unit, as he can't, and that means a lot of smaller units would have to be extremely wary about engaging him in melee. Even if you thought you would have enough attacks to bring him down, you'd have to think about whether you can do that after he's got to work on you with Viterra's first. Overall, this one looks like really quite a fun rules change. It certainly looks like a handful to deal with, and maybe feels like it could be in a similar sort of place for Cypher for the Chaos Marines, a slightly more expensive lone operative, but one that can be a serious threat to sort of medium infantry type units. He could certainly be threatening to wipe out small squads of Space Marines between his shooting and his melee, and if his points stay somewhere around the sort of 100 points or so, I think he looks really quite good. I could easily see people choosing to bring him in place of Assassins for the lone operative type role. In any case, it looks pretty fun. It would be nice to see him with a bit more of a prominent place in the Blood Angels army. Moving on, we've got two different sets of model removals from the Games Workshop web store. First up, there's yet more stuff being taken down for the Imperial agents, and this time it does look like it might be some of the ones that I'd be at most concern of going away and not coming back. As we know, Codex Imperial Agents is going to be the next codex that comes out for Warhammer 40k. They did the reveal with all the battle forces and things a week or so back, though we already knew that Imperial Agents was going to be coming anyway. Games Workshop had dropped some heavy hints by taking down things like the Assassins, Greyfax and Kyria Draxus, Combat Patrol Deathwatch, and the data cards for the Agents and the Deathwatch, basically all signs that they were preparing for this combined launch, and there was pretty much zero chance that the Assassins and the Plastic Inquisitors were going away, merely being reboxed and re-released as quite popular models. Now though, there's been yet another round of model takedowns on the Games Workshop web store, and these ones I'm a bit less certain of. Inquisitor Kotias's Finecast model has been removed, as you'd expect with a new updated miniature. No surprise that his original model is going away, even if it seems like the online community isn't exactly particularly convinced by the new one. Perhaps a little bit more worryingly for inquisitorial options though, Inquisitor Karamazov on his Stompy Throne of Judgment, the generic Inquisitor miniatures, and the Jokairo and Demon Host, none of them are present on the web store anymore. I'm not sure exactly when they got taken down, but I believe that all of those were present when I last checked this, when I was seeing if anything else had been removed alongside the Assassins and Greyfax and things going away. For these ones, as mentioned, I'm far less certain that they'll be coming back with any sort of rebox. In general, when Games Workshop takes down Finecast resin things off the web store, they don't generally tend to come back, aside from limited edition re-releases and made-to-order type things. And in 10th edition in particular, it's come with a very high chance of them being removed from their respective codex when the book actually comes out. Unfortunately, until we hear otherwise, I feel like there's just a good chance that the Jokairo, Demon Host and Inquisitor Karamazov might well be at risk of not being included in the next book for them when it drops. It has happened to an awful lot of 10th edition resin characters over the past year or so. Things like Boss Zagstruck for the Orcs, Ornvar for the Tau, or Amrake the Traveller for the Necrons. I guess the chance isn't zero that they'll still be included. We have had some Finecast survivors like Trazyn the Infinite or Volcanestan for the Space Marines, though it looks like the odds are kind of slim here. Certainly will be a shame if they go away though. It's hard not to enjoy the tech wizard space monkeys that can fight alongside the Inquisition, and Karamazov is just a kind of cool character all in all, really quite a fun classic sculpt that I hope Games Workshop get around to updating to plastic at some point. I feel like if any of these do survive, then there's at least a reasonable chance that we might get some sort of plastic miniature for them in the future. So I guess we'll see what happens when Imperial Agents comes out, and check the units allowed versus what goes away. That's not all on the web store removal front though, as it looks like there's a casualty for the Imperial Guard as well. The Forge World Vulture Gunship has gone away now. Kind of a sad one this one, as I think that out of the Forge World models it was certainly one of the more popular Guard ones. Basically a gunplane with a sort of curious great big central turbine type thing, and it had the option to be equipped with either a whole bunch of rockets and missiles, or perhaps my favourite in the Twin Punisher Gatling cannons. There was just something quite crazy about a single aircraft being able to put out that many shots, and did have some competitive play back in 8th and 9th edition. It looks like this thing has flown its last flight as a Forge World model kit though. It was marked as sold out online and is now just gone from the web store outright. I feel like compared with some Forge World things that might or might not get an update at some point in the future in plastic from Games Workshop, this thing feels unlikely. Games Workshop really seem to have gone down the design decision to keep aircraft pretty niche in Warhammer 40k, and Guard already have one in their Valkyrie kit. While I feel like there probably would be enough demand to have one of these as a plastic aircraft, it just seems unlikely they'd commit resources to it if it seems their policy is to keep aircraft sort of rubbish and sidelining game. Again, this one is just another underlining that Forge World models will be losing mainstream 40k support in 10th edition. As per Games Workshop's policies, it looks like the only things that are going to be surviving in terms of full gameplay rules in those Imperial armor indexes are the Adept Custodes and the Knights Forge World units, and anything that's big Titanic scale in terms of models, say things like the Necron Seraptic Construct, the Orc Gargantuan Squiggoth, or the Tau Taunar. So far it's been pretty consistent that everything else should be expected to go to Legends rules, so excluded from balance updates and not recommended for competitive events, even if you can still play them fine in casual, and it might not bode too well for them into the extreme long term, as their rules get increasingly mothballed. We've seen this so far with the Space Marine, Chaos, Necrons, Tau and Orcs, so it really does feel like the writing's on the wall for Forge World things, and that's going to affect the Astra Militarum perhaps more so than any other faction. Otherwise, for Games Workshop news and previews, they announced that their free miniature of the month in Warhammer stores is going to be another Space Marine this time. Apparently, if you call into a Warhammer store from Friday the 3rd of August onwards, you'll be able to pick up a completely free Space Marine Scout. This will be a random offering from their 10 model Kill Team style box. And again, really not too bad if you're just passing and it happens to be super convenient to call in. They're usually worth about £4.20 or $6.50, at least by the price that they're sold in the Kill Team kit. Overall, I feel like this one's quite a fun and effective way of promoting their stores. It maybe doesn't really get you anything too desperately useful in game. You can't field them as full units or anything like that, but maybe you could try and make them work with the rules of something like a combi weapon lieutenant or even a Vindicare assassin if you manage to get the sniper one perhaps. They do have a bit of a different feel to both of those though. I certainly caveat with saying that supply of these can be limited. Any one store isn't guaranteed to have stock of them, so it's really not worth travelling too far out your way to try and acquire them. You might wind up wasting a bunch of time and not get a free miniature for your trouble. Most stores have fairly friendly staff where you can either call them up or ask questions on emails or social media, so it could potentially be worth getting in touch if you're thinking about making a trip. I've also heard some reports of some stores asking you to sit and build them in store as well, so that might make them a bit less convenient as well, or being a bit funny about handing them over if you don't happen to be picking up anything else. To my knowledge though, it's generally supposed to be the policy that they're just free for people who call in, and more people tend to report that that's the case and they're fairly easy to get their hands on. Could be an interesting enough one in any case, at the very least a fun little painting project if you want a random sneaky space marine. Another fun little teaser from Games Workshop earlier today was the announcement of their Speed Freaks game. This one's been in development for a little while, but apparently it's going to be going into early access on the 6th of August. It looks like the idea is driving about a whole bunch of the Orky buggies, blazing away at your rivals and deploying other bits of Orky technology, such as the shock jump dragster teleporting around. Sounds like there's a few fun game modes where people go head to head. One called Death Rally, where you fight over objectives, and the game is that they spawn in on random parts of the map, so you basically have to race there shooting up the opponents as they go. And one where you've got a pair of stompers in the game, where you've got to try and damage the enemy stomper and preserve yours, and get them lumbering across a finish line. Certainly looks like an interesting one. I'm sure a few of you might be interested in checking it out. These teaser trailers look really quite fun, and if you do have that sort of action going on, looks like it could be fun to check out for a bit of the fun and feel factor alone. Otherwise, on Monday, Games Workshop shared a few more details as to the Leagues of Votann in White Dwarf. They did say there was going to be an index for Leagues of Votann there. Seems that the main index is going to have a fair bit of lore for the faction. Not sure if it's going to be any too major update compared with what was in the codex or not. Still always kind of intriguing given that they're the new kids on the block as 40k is concerned. But on top of that, it now looks like it's also confirmed to contain Crusade rules for the Leagues of Votann. The White Dwarfs often have been releasing some content for narrative or combat patrol type games, which feels like an okay way of delivering those rules, I guess. I feel like it was maybe a bit more annoying when White Dwarf was the delivery mechanism for plenty of really quite important core 40k game rules, as it just gave you an extra publication or few sheets of it to put in with all the rest when you went to a game. In any case, though, it's going to have a system for grudges, acquisitions, and assets for the Crusade mode. I do kind of wonder if this might be a hint that Codex Leagues of Votann for 10th edition might be one of the later ones to come out. I guess if you're going to release some Crusade rules for a faction early, it would make sense for that faction to be one that's got a Codex later in the edition, so they manage to get at least some of their Crusade content without having to wait until the very end. Finally, for main reveals and things, there was another intriguing little teaser on the Rumour engine that looked like it could be 40k relevant today. This time we've got someone's toolbox being held by a sort of simplistic looking mechanical hand. Obviously all of these Rumour engines do tend to be a bit on the vague side and hard to say exactly what they are. I must admit from the styling of this one though, my first thought is Leagues of Votann. The fingers and the sort of curved shape of the handhold bit just maybe look a little bit on the similar side to things like the Brocket Iron Master's assistants, as you can see with this one. They're not quite the same, but maybe not a million miles away. And also the styling on the side of the toolbox seems to fit best with Votann. The grills that they have look kind of similar to the back of this robot, as do the stylings of having a few pinpoint rivets. Not entirely sure exactly what it could be, given that Leagues of Votann already have their sort of engineer type unit in the Brocket Iron Master. We did see a hologram Rumour engine that could also potentially be Votann in the not too distant past, though obviously it's very hard to say at this point. Could be something completely different. Otherwise, always possibilities that this could be Necromunda, or maybe something like an Abmech kill team, I guess, given toolboxes and robots holding them. Or as I saw one comment on the 40k Facebook page say, maybe it's just a Primaris Lieutenant's lunchbox. In any case, I'll leave that one there for today. Let me know what you make of Mephiston's buffed, the models removed, and the other bits and bobs. I'll just finish up with a little bit of channel news for the Knight household giveaway. It has been a bit of a busy time for the channel giveaways between this and them announcing the Blood Angels box for the next month. In any case, before Inquisition and Blood Angels type things, the August one is still for the Knight household. 3 channel viewers get any 3 big plastic Imperial or Chaos Knights made by Games Workshop. You can choose which ones you'd like, including things like the Dominus, Castellan, or the big Tallboy Sevastus ones that are made of plastic. And you can also swap out any individual knight for 4 Armigers or War Dogs if you'd like. Hopefully it should be a good contained and focused way for a few people to start a new army, getting around about 1500 points or so worth of models. As ever with the channel giveaways, there's 2 equal ways to enter, both of them links down in the video description. Either you can support the channel on Patreon, which gets you automatic entry each month, and is the primary thing that supports me making videos, or you can enter completely for free via supporting the channel on social media and boosting some algorithms. To do that, you do these 3 actions: subscribing to the YouTube channel, liking the Facebook page, and then to actually enter the draw, the giveaway post appears on the 1st of August, not too far away now. It appears at midnight UK time, and then is active for 24 hours. To do the final entry for the draw, respond to that with a photo of any 40k mini or imagery, along with your name and the date handwritten within the same photo, just to make sure that the prizes go to real people and not people spamming. After all the entries are in between Facebook and Patreon, I do the draw with a random number generator, and it's announced on the channel update video on YouTube around the 4th of August. After that's happened, I'll get in touch with the 3 winners, ask them which knights they'd like, and get them ordered in, and then they'll be posted once I've received my orders of them. In any case, feel free to check out the Patreon or the Facebook page, they're both links down in the video description, and there'll also be further giveaways each and every month. The next one is for 8 Battle Force winners, either any of the Inquisition ones, or that Blood Angels Death Company army set with Lamates and Astarath. In any case though, look forward to hearing your takes on the Games Workshop news and model removals down in the comments, and feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics if you'd like to see more like this. I do tend to post 40k videos just about every day. Finally, beyond channel giveaway entries, there's a few other benefits to the Patreon. You get to see certain videos early, occasional votes to see what comes next on the channel, automatic entry to those giveaways, and a few other bits like names in the credits and Discord roles and things. If any of that's of interest to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link's in the video description. In any case, an enormous thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.